there's three areas I like a lot. One is synthetic biology.
What do you think is ahead in 2023?
So my big thing is context. Too often people want to know, well, what's coming next? And I say, whoa. That's good to know. But unless you understand the context, like where we've been, so you understand where we are, so you can see where we're going, unless you have those three together, like you don't know what you don't know. So I think what's really salient for your audience is to say, well, look, what happened to get us to where we are, right? So just really quickly, obviously, COVID and the U.S. combined to make probably the largest disruption to our lifetimes of the economy. I mean, and just everything else. So with that in mind, the reaction of governments around the world to deal with that also was extraordinarily disruptive, not only from, our central banks creating zero interest rates, but also from the government spending just massive amounts of money like we've never seen before in such a short period of time. So that's the context for understanding what's going on. And if you think about the U.S. economy just really quickly, prior to COVID, like 70% of it was about consumer spending, right, on services. And about 30% were on goods. Well, if you couldn't spend money on services like going to a bar, restaurant, hotel, travel, all that kind of fun stuff, you kind of held on to that money. But then if you're working from home or you had to stay at home, then you start looking around and you go, I need a new computer. I need a desk. I need, I'm kind of sick of the bed I'm sleeping in. All of those goods, that spending got jacked up. And so that's why, like, if you ordered a sofa in like 2021 and it never showed up, that's why there was just like huge demand for all of these different goods, durable goods, things that are physical, along with the technology. So that created a lot of inflation. It created a lot of supply chain disruptions. All of those kind of things were occurring at the same time that a lot of money was sloshing in and creating some dislocations. And then you had a lot of people drop out. So you lost a lot of people in the workforce from that. And the next thing is you had over 2 million more people retire. And then the next thing was you had a much smaller cohort of the 20 to 28-year-olds of people coming into the labor force. So all of those, and then we shut our borders too. So all of that wrapped into a labor shortage situation. So those are all the things that like combined into this year of 2022 that created the conditions where, the authorities, central banks around the world said, we got to deal with this like 10% inflation. And so that's when they began raising interest rates, and they continue to raise interest rates to this day and will likely continue to raise interest rates into 2023. So that's the backdrop of what we have going on as we go into 2023. So when you say what's ahead, here's what's ahead. We're going to have probably a mild recession sometime in the U.S., sometime during 2023. I don't want to put exact, first quarter, second quarter, any of that kind of stuff, because I don't know what I don't know when it comes to that. You likely to get resolved. That's going to continue going forward. So that's going to create all sorts of, problems when it comes to energy. And that translates and kicks into every aspect of the economy, food, goods, all of those things. And then finally, there are things that are going on that I like to think of that nobody talks about that are just amazing things, like synthetic biology. And I see so many positive things that are happening there. So as we look into 2023 and going beyond, I mean, there's all sorts of really cool things that are happening that if you're only looking at the news, or if you're only looking at your Google feed or your Twitter feed, you're thinking, oh my God, the world's coming to an end. Where I see things, there's just amazing developments that are happening that are going to make our world so much better. And I know it doesn't feel that way right now, especially with climate change and the storms that are happening and greenhouse gas emissions. But there are serious people at work doing fantastic things that we're going to see the fruition of that shortly over the next 2 to 3 to 5 years. So what's coming? I would say some really good things as we're getting through all of these bad things.
You obviously work in a lot of different sectors, agriculture, etc. Where do you think is going to be like, oh, this is going to be where we're going to see a lot of changes? Like if you jumped in a time machine, so to speak, and fast forwarded this sector would look totally different than it did in years past?
Yeah, I mean, I know people maybe look askance at agriculture and think, oh, why would you spend so much time there? Again, context is king here. These people are selling a commodity. So what does that mean? They have to be the most efficient producers of that commodity because everybody knows what the price is. It's not, like everybody knows what the price of corn is. It's not like you can be Microsoft selling a specific product that nobody else sells so you can, have really big margins. That's not the way it works. So these are the people that are at the forefront of using technology in any way, shape, or form that they can to be more efficient, more productive. So I do spend a lot of time there. I see amazing things happening in that space. I know there's a lot of people who are against things like GMO, but I will tell you that the synthetic biology that's going on right now is amazing in agriculture. That can really help agriculture feed the world, which is really important, but also overcome the problems with climate change that we're going to experience whether we stop greenhouse gas emissions today. We're still going to have problems for some time on that. And the volatile weather that we have, whether it's droughts or storms or you name it, heat, all of those things. We need to be better at producing crops that can survive in those things and in those environments, and then also increase yields. So I see just amazing things that are going on there that are using technology. Like if you were wowed by mRNA, that came about because of CRISPR technology. The CRISPR technology that's being used in agriculture is amazing. I mean, they're taking viruses as an example, using CRISPR to turn off the bad component of the virus and then modify it so that that virus can go on wheat that kills a bacteria that grows on the wheat. I think agriculture remains, for me, just one of the most exciting areas that's rapidly developing positive things that are going to help out in the future.
Are you ready for some harder / listener submitted questions?
Oh yeah, bring them on.
Give you one of the maybe one of the easier ones. Where should I put my money?
There's 3 areas that I like going forward. I already mentioned synthetic biology. Like, I'm not going to tell you exactly what to do. That's not my job. That's for you to work with a wealth manager or whoever you want to work with. Do your own homework. What's your risk tolerance? I don't know any of those things. What I do know is there's 3 areas I like a lot. 1 is synthetic biology. 2 is the development of AI. And 3 is, and this will sound terrible, but I'm a money flow guy, so I'm being honest here, is defense. If you've noticed in the recent sell-off of the stock market, defense stocks have held up extraordinarily well. Now, there's a reason for that, because the world is becoming somewhat bifurcated between autocratic regimes like Russia, like China, and democratic regimes like the United States and like EU. And that leads to conflict. And because Europe's had an existential threat to them, namely Russia being on their doorstep, they've woken up to the fact that that's a big risk. So they have to say, maybe we ought to step up our defense spending. And that's exactly what we've seen. Japan just made a huge change in the way that they approach defense, and they're going to spend a lot more money on it. Now, overall, how does that fit with my optimistic world? Well, when people aren't weak, it's less likely that they get attacked. So I would say we're a little bit going back into the Cold War. So those are the 3 areas that I like, with the caveat that one of them is not necessarily super positive, but if you're looking to place money where money flows are going, which is my big thing when I help clients, I think those 3 areas you'll do well with.